I complained so much in the solo podcast that I brought somebody else with me to try and chill me out or calm me down.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA's radio network. Luke Robinson, that's me, and Bama Online's Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Sorry. Look, we're all a little confused right now. No, understand.
FanDuel are both awesome.
They are both awesome. They both could be bringing you this podcast, and you wouldn't know. Jimmy, I'm going to tell you something. I did a solo podcast. Had a lot of people joining in. A lot of people hate watching, which I get. I don't blame them. I mean, Alabama was good for a long time, and we're not good anymore. I'm going to tell you something. I know you're going to think I'm overreacting.
Probably.
I've been stumping for Jalen Milroe for some time.
Yep.
He played not bad, horribly today. Horribly. I will also say this. The coaching staff did him no favors.
Agreed.
I thought the game plan stunk. I thought if the game plan was, hey, just target Ryan Williams every time and don't worry about anybody else. If that was a game plan, I'm usually for it because I love Ryan Williams, but surely to God somebody else would be open.
Yeah, I think a lot to complain about, a lot to be upset about, a lot to be distressed about. All that stuff is true. But I also want people to realize this was a top 10 team on the road. I don't know that Texas would have won that game. I don't know that Georgia would have won that game.
Oh, I disagree 100%. And I'll let you make your argument, but I disagree. I'm watching Texas, Georgia right now. Georgia is going to beat the brakes off this crowd.
And Alabama beat Georgia. I mean, this is the same Alabama team that beat Georgia at home. I think a lot of what happened in terms of Alabama coming up short happened in the first half. I know there'll be so much focus on the second half, but Alabama lost this game in the first half when they created a lot of opportunities for themselves, and the offense failed to cash in repeatedly in the first half. And had Alabama left the first half with a 17-0 lead, 13-0, 14-0, 21-0, 20-0, could have easily been all those scores, but they didn't. And that just kept Tennessee in the game. When you keep a top 10 team on the road in the game, they're going to find a way. And that's what happened. Really distressing because the offense seems to have regressed from game one. The offense seems to get a little worse every week. Jalen Milroe was really bad. Just being honest, he was really bad tonight. Now, why? I think he's probably banged up because of over-reliance on him in the run game and all the hits he's absorbed going all the way back to Western Kentucky. So I think he's banged up. I think Tennessee's defense is elite. I talked about it all week. This is one of the best 5 or 6 defenses in all of college football, and they really showed up and made it very difficult for Alabama. And I get the reaction. I'm not criticizing the reaction. I'm sure there will be an overreaction, but as far as I'm concerned, in terms of if you're upset about Alabama's season, I'm more ready to complain about the Vanderbilt loss because that's a team you should have beat by 20 points. Beating Tennessee and Knoxville was always going to be extremely difficult because that's a really good football team that's very likely to be in the playoff.
I know I'm on mute. I got it. I had one of my fellow Auburn friends who's joined the chat say, I want to get your thoughts on the jump shot looking thing that some of the receivers do when it's 4th and short and we go for it. Yeah, I think that's stupid. I'll tell you the truth. I think it's very Auburn-esque. I don't want that crap. Why are we doing that? And why are the coaches letting it happen? I mean, don't do that.
Hey, I'm fine with this criticism because I agree 100%. This is an extremely undisciplined football team.
Beyond
extremely undisciplined.
Here's extreme. They're way over here. And I'm going to tell you something else. I have no problem saying this. I'm not blaming the officials. The officials were god-awful today. They were way too involved in the game, and then they weren't involved when they needed to be.
It was horrible officiating. And for anybody that says, oh, these Alabama, I watch a ton of SEC games. It's just horrible in all the games all the time. And it was horrible in this game. And Alabama got completely hosed time and time again. Sometimes Tennessee even got hosed, but just horrible.
They just did a bad job, and that's fair to say. But that being said, I think you did hit the nail on the head where you say we lost this in the first half. Tennessee, 3 turnovers, and you can tell me, okay, Tennessee's defense is elite. Well, we got down to the 4-yard line, and then we had one of the dumbest calls I've seen us have in forever. How many fades do you know that Jalen Milroe has thrown in his career? How many?
For whatever reason, Jalen tonight, I mean, this is just my read on what happened. Jalen had a lot of predetermined throws tonight. By predetermined, what I mean by that is before the ball is ever snapped, before he sees how they line up, before he sees what the play is, he's decided it's a pass. I'm going to Ryan and hope Ryan makes a play. That's a horrible way to play football. And I really felt for a lot of the game that was what was going on. It was a wing and a prayer to Ryan, which sometimes makes sense.
Yeah.
But not 18 times.
Not 18 times.
Not 20 times. That's not an offense. That's a wing and a prayer, which is much different than an offense. And that's on Jalen. And then a couple of times Ryan's wide open and he missed him. It was the most inaccurate.
He missed Ryan on a crucial drive late in the game. He missed Ryan so wide open that I swear to God, and I said this on the solo pod, I don't believe this, and I'm not accusing him. It was almost like somebody who was on the take would miss it that badly. It's almost like it was as bad a miss as you can miss and still be within the realm of saying you play D1 football.
Yeah, Jalen played it's just a fact. Jalen played very poorly. Multiple Alabama players. I know all the spotlight's going to be on Milroe, and that comes with the position. Multiple Alabama players played poorly. I was very disappointed in the defense in the second half. First half, I thought they played really well. And again, they lost the game in the first half. They should have left the first half up around 17-0.
Agreed.
And then what would have happened? Tennessee would have abandoned the run game, put it all on Nico to throw it constantly, which is exactly what they don't want to do. And Dylan Sampson wouldn't have been a huge factor in the second half. Instead, the game was tight, so Dylan Sampson remained a thing. Ultimately, they were able to run the ball well enough to win the game. But Alabama mostly lost this game on offense. And again, I would like to point out that, again, it's a loss on the road to a top 10 team with an elite defense. And I know too much is going to be made of it. I get it. I understand all of that. But Alabama's in this position right now because they lost to Vanderbilt. If they were right now 6-1 with one road loss to a top 10 team, they would still be over an 80% chance to make the college football playoff. But they're not, because they lost to a team they should have beat by 3 touchdowns. You got to remember, last time Alabama went to Knoxville, they lost with Nick Saban on the sideline and Bryce Young a quarterback.
And some terrible calls.
This isn't an easy, with a bunch of terrible calls. This isn't an easy place to win football games anymore.
Let me tell you where you're wrong right after I do this, begrudgingly. I know you heard it while I was doing the solo, but you got to hear it again. If your D is lagging, there's nothing better than hymns. It'll get your D fixed. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hymns provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence so you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Could have used some hymns on that last drive. Your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have time to go to a doctor's office to get treated for ED. Through hymns, you can get personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside your door. I don't know why I'm reading this the same way somebody reads the prizes they won as a runner-up on Family Feud back in '88. That's what I'm doing. Start your free online visit today at hymns.com/lockedon. That's hymns.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. Hims.com/locked-on. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products, which are not approved by, verified, or for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. It's the longest live read I've ever done. Felt like it was never going to end.
Does ED stand for erroneous defense?
It stands for F&A, Deboer.
Well, there's some F's and some A's in there. Hey, Kaylin, hey, I'm going to be, I know people look at me as like a common sense level head. I'll be honest. Kaylin Deboer's not doing a good job with this football team.
He's doing a pathetic job.
Well, again, I don't want to say that on the heels of losing to a top 10 team on the road.
Jimmy, let me say this, and then you can defend yourself. Number one, you're right about one thing. You should be madder about losing to Vanderbilt. But see, that's the thing. Losing to Vanderbilt loses your get-out-of-jail-free card.
Right.
Like, losing to Vanderbilt compounds losing this game when you were the better team. Again, there are going to be some Tennessee fans saying, what are you talking about? We won the game. Granted, you did win the game. I'm not taking that away from you. What I'm saying is Alabama had a gazillion chances to win that game, and they TT'd them away.
My comeback to that in terms of criticizing Deboer would be, Luke, in terms of criticizing Deboer, I'm not sure Alabama's a better team. And that's on Deboer. But I mean, I'm not sure Alabama's better than Tennessee. They should
roster-wise, I think
they got more dudes. They got more dudes. They should be better than Tennessee. I'm not sure that they are.
Yeah, I think Deboer's done a bad enough job right now. And everybody's going, he's 6-2. You Alabama fans, Nick Saban's gone. But we still have Nick Saban players. And we shouldn't be losing.
And you lost to Vanderbilt. Again,
you lost to Vanderbilt.
I mean, it's not – again, had you beaten Vanderbilt tonight, I would be telling people, y'all just calm down. But you lost to Vanderbilt, so I
agree with you. Agreed. See, that's what I'm saying. Losing the Vanderbilt game ups the ante for every other contest. You don't have anything to fall back on.
By the way, while we're recording this, 17-0 Georgia.
I told you, I said on this podcast, Georgia wins. I said everybody's taking Texas and watch the other side.
And this is why there will be, like I want to say, overreaction. This same Alabama team beat Georgia. So this same Alabama team did that.
Okay, but Jimmy, that's fine.
I'm just saying
that makes me upsetter.
It's not over. The season's not over. Let's see how it plays out. But winning in Knoxville was always going to be difficult. I said before the Georgia game, week of the game, right here on the show, I said winning in Knoxville will be tougher than beating Georgia in Tuscaloosa. I did say that the week of the show. This was going to be the toughest game to win. I said that before Alabama played Georgia, and look at Georgia now.
Okay. Larry Caldwell says, I don't like your commercial. Don't need this junk on your show. This is horrible. Please don't do it again. Larry, this is why we have a show, because we have sponsors. So I'm sorry. There's nothing else I can do like that.
By the way, Hims, as much as we kind of snicker, people need this.
People do need, and I'm going to tell you something else. One of the reasons I read it like that is because it will stick with you. Oh, wait a minute. I still got the Hims thing up there. I need to get that off, don't I? Hey, that thing does stay up longer.
It does.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
that was on me.
That's quality. That's 10 to 10 there.
Hey, okay.
It's quality.
And then somebody said, I'd rather hear, I guess I can say, this isn't a cuss word. I'd rather hear a fat woman fart than hear a grown man cry. I don't know if you're talking about us crying. We're not crying. We're upset. We're mad. We're mad because this shouldn't be. This team should be undefeated. And I'm going to tell you something. See,
I think you are what you are. I wouldn't say we should be undefeated. I think you are what you are.
Okay, that's fair. That's very fair. But I'm going to tell you, and maybe it's recency bias in that this game just got done. I really believe we have more dudes, and we were set up to win that game, and really bad coaching, which led to bad quarterback play, cost us that game. And I feel bad for somebody like Ryan Williams in this case.
It's too much focus on one spot, though I completely agree. Jalen Milroe played very poorly, but the offensive line did an extremely poor job against Tennessee's very good front. You're still not getting production out of Justice and Jam.
No.
And defensively, sure, you played really good for a half, but the second half was, hey, Tennessee scored 21 in the second half. That's 42 for a game. That's ridiculous.
No, they scored 24 in the second half. It was 7-0 at the half.
That's right. So that's ridiculous against an offense that's been struggling. The second half defensively was very poor. Now, I will say this, again, not an excuse, but a reason. Alabama had some bunched up injuries to where in the second half, you played the entire half with the bench safeties. And I think Bray Hubbard did fine. I think King Mack struggled, but Alabama gets Keon Sabb, Devontae Smith, and Red Morgan all hurt, all at the same time. That's ridiculously terrible luck.
Okay, agreed.
That's bad luck. And Tennessee up in the booth, their OC, of course, couldn't contain himself when he's like, I don't even know who number 5 is. We hadn't seen him all year. Alabama had to play the deep reserves at safety because they had 3 safeties in the game. That's all terrible luck.
All fair. First of all, I do want to address this comment. JL says, thank you, JL. I love this show. Keep being yourself, but change that damn ugly shirt, Luke. Jimmy has the one with the black polo. Let me tell you something about this, JL.
That's a Yay Alabama shirt.
Yay Alabama shirt. So when I buy this ugly shirt, and maybe it is ugly. Number one, I don't get paid $11 gazillion to do this podcast and represent.
It costs $100.
But this shirt cost about $125, and it helps our NIL. So at least I'm doing my part. Let me say that much.
Fine shirt. I wish Deboer. Can the coaches wear the collective shirts on the sideline? That's a good rule question.
So now let me say this
about Deboer wear a shirt that says "Yay Alabama." I think that's a great compliance.
He needs to wear a shirt that says "Run the ball," and so every time he looks down like, "What should we do?" Oh, run the ball, y'all. That's what he should wear a shirt.
If he can wear a "Yay Alabama" shirt, he should. By the way, I mean, being serious about that.
Okay, but now what you said. All right, I got to go to another break, and then I'm going to tell you where you screwed up again. If I can ever find this thing.
Are you muted? Are you muted, or is there something wrong with my Wi-Fi? I can't hear you. No.
Oh, I'm muted. That's why.
No.
Oh, my God. Why did I mute? I don't even know why I did it.
Tell us about FanDuel, and I hope everyone listening needs to go to FanDuel right now and immediately. I would go Texas from this point forward. I mean, surely Georgia's not going to win 50-0, right?
Let's see what happens. But hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live, play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. You can place your first $5 bet. That's only at FanDuel.Kism. Is that what the kids are? Oh, what am I doing? Like our 2-minute offense, I'm discombobulated.
It's a bit chaotic. You know, Caden Proctor has played fantastic all year. He struggled. You know who else struggled was Tyler Booker. Hope everybody listening. I'm going to do my rewatch thing, of course, on BOL, and I look forward to watching, particularly the offensive line. That Tennessee front's really good, but man, when they're abusing Proctor and Booker, you're probably going to have a pretty long night because those guys are good players.
Now, let me also say this: the irony of this is not lost on me at all. The all-time leading scorer in NCAA history is kicking for the University of Alabama last year. His team makes the playoffs. He is kicking butt for the Minnesota Vikings right now. We go out and get the guy who beat him for the Lou Groza Award. Even Lou Groza's mama would have voted for Will Reichert last year. And this guy comes in, and he's 1 of 3. So it's not his fault. He's only taken 3. It is his fault. He's 2 of 3 and 1 of 3.
I got a lot to say about that. And look, this is tough to say out loud in public, but look, when you sign the Lou Groza Award kicker, he's got to be the kicker. He has to be the guy because he just won the Lou Groza Award. So he's the guy got to stick out there. But he didn't have good range. He didn't have good range at Miami of Ohio. And Luke just made a very great point about while Reichard should have won the award last year, because as good as Nicholson was last year at Miami of Ohio, 27-28, I think, none of them were 55 plus. He doesn't have a big leg. And what we didn't pay enough attention to here, and hey, this is my fault. Hey, I'm off here. I should have made a bigger point of this because I knew it at the time, and I haven't made a big enough point of it on the show. When Connor Talty won the kickoff job, that should have told us everything we needed to know about Graham Nicholson's range. Connor Talty's the big long-distance kicker. If you look at Nicholson's record at Miami of Ohio, they weren't long kicks. My complaint, if I'm going to blame it on the staff, is when you got to kick it over 50 yards and you want to kick it, put Connor out there. Talty needs to be the kicker on the 50-plus yard kicks. Nicholson's great closer in, but he's not a long-range kicker. He wasn't at Miami of Ohio. He didn't win the kickoff job here. That always should have been Talty on those 50-yard kicks. And I feel bad for Graham over how this has worked out. 1 of 3. In so many ways, this is a nightmare for him. In so many ways, this is a nightmare for him. He was kicking like crazy. We never give him opportunities, rightfully. I'm not saying we're taking them away from him, but Talty should be the 50-yard plus kicking attempt. And we've done this before, by the way. I hate to bring it up because of kick 6 season. But the kick 6 year, we brought in Adam Griffith to kick at the very end because Kate Foster couldn't kick it that long. So we bring in Griffith, even though he's a freshman. Isn't that kind of familiar, right? Maybe we should have brought in Talty, but I feel bad for Graham because he is a good kicker from 45 and in. Anything over that, it should be Connor. That's just kind of how I feel about it. I hate being that blunt because I don't like criticizing our players, but that's just fact. Hey, you're muted again, which
knows.
probably
I'm trying really hard not to interrupt you because
no, I get it. I'm just wondering about the hymns thing again. About whether is Luke be muted or
I know. Look, all right. So let me say this. Another thing that grinds my gears, to steal a line from Peter Griffin.
I was laughing right away when he said, that's good.
Somebody said Luke does sound better muted. That is probably a ordinarily fair point.
Peter,
give you good point. Divine Blood One. Divine Blood One. That sounds like somebody from somebody who gets killed early in Game of Thrones. Anywho, so this really does grind my gears. The Kendrick Law experiment may be over. Listen, and before you tell me, hey, he looked good on that one play. He did. He looked really good on that one play. He also had another nice play later on where he made a catch. But to push the guy in the face, and I know it should have been offsetting. I know the announcer
should have been offsetting. Should have been.
The guy, I know.
But we have a right to be mad at Kendrick. Kendrick cost us those 15 yards. And
definitely.
4th and 7 to 4th and 22. I'm not saying it cost us a game, but that was critically huge. And another good reason why I'm not a coach. Again, I spout off more than even Nick would about that. I mean, I said last week when I was mad that Damani took it out of the end zone, which, by the way, I apologize. I was wrong about that. But I'm not wrong about this. I mean, I don't think Kendrick Law should. I mean, that's inexcusable to me. And I realize it should have been offsetting. And I get it. But you can't turn 4th and 7, which is possible, into 4th and 22, which is impossible.
You can't do it. If Ryan Williams had done it, hold on a second. If Ryan Williams had done it, I'd say, don't do that again, but I ain't punishing you for it. When you have not made a play yet, you definitely cannot do it.
And I've been hesitant to say this, and I wasn't going to say it till the end of the year until I see how it went. And I hate saying this right now, but this is just how I feel now after watching 2+ years of Kendrick playing football. I wish we could do the Kendrick Law career all over again with him playing safety.
100%.
He's
or running back.
He's too big, physical, fast. I love him as an athlete. I love him as a football player. But wide receiver just hasn't worked. I mean, wide receiver, it's just not worked for him. But I ain't giving up on him because I love the size and speed component. And from what everybody says, he's a great dude.
And let's say
Law,
this.
I'm a fan, but that penalty
that was stupid.
That was stupid. That was really terrible.
And here's what I want. And look, last year we did the press conferences live on this channel. And I don't think people are like, I can watch that anywhere. Why watch it with y'all? That's a good point. But I want to know this. And because I've done 2 podcasts now, I have not seen the press conferences. You know what I'd love to see? Since, what was it that Deboer did? You know, he stood up for Malachi Moore. Okay. And I stood behind him a little bit for that. He needs to take ownership of this and say, we need, as a coaching staff, to make sure people know, our players know, they can't get those penalties, period.
I don't
want to hear
punch Kendrick Law in the face. Don't punch him back. Not in that game situation. Situational awareness. Situational awareness has really lacked, and discipline has horrifically lacked. And I think it's fair to blame that all on the coaching staff.
We haven't talked about this enough, and I'm sure we'll get to it this week. Tim Lee 61524. God, that's so weird. My name forever was Tim Lee 61523. But anywho,
it's a zip code. I'm going with the zip.
Anywho, he said this. Oh, I had it and I just took it away.
Yeah, that's all. Throwing the interception.
Throwing an interception on the first down on the game-winning drive is absolutely unacceptable. That is a literal benching offense. True,
but I would say that Jalen did several other things that were equally bad. It was I famously said against Vanderbilt that the defense performed at an F- level today. Jalen Milroe, F-. Now, here's the thing where I'm going to differ from a lot of people listening to the show and posting on my message board at BOL. Jalen has earned a lot of rope. He's earned a lot of rope. He's been a great player and the reason for a lot of Alabama's success. For that reason, he's earned, maybe instead of rope, I should say patience. Jalen, get better. It's got to get better. People that just want to, let's go to the other guy. No, Jalen's done too many good things. He's the quarterback of this football team. But that was bad. And it's fair if the coaches go, you know what? If it continues to be bad, we're going to look at the other guy. But Jalen, that was bad. But those that want to cut bait now and say, okay, he threw the interception on the first down, and I get that he played poorly. He gets to play poorly and keep the job for now, but he's got to play better than that. And he might be banged up. And again, I blame that on the coaching staff. If Jalen's banged up to the point he's playing poorly because he's hurt, I think some of that's on Alabama just kind of running him into the ground.
Maybe. I don't know what it is, and we'll talk more about it later. I want everybody to understand something. Jimmy and I are Alabama fans first and foremost. We're always Alabama fans. We also want to call it like we see it. We also think it's better to do a podcast right after the game because it is fun to have a visceral reaction. Sometimes those visceral reactions include making fun of a coach's shirt, which go viral and get me practical death threats, but so be it. I can deal with that. But I do want to say this. If you're upset at this team and the way it's underperforming, I think you have every right. If you're also an Alabama fan saying I'm Crimson no matter what and I love them, I think that's very fair to say. But I think there's room for both in your heart. And I think it's very fair to say this team is underperforming. It is, frankly, it's embarrassing at times. I have 4 children. Are you going to tell me that those 4 children haven't disappointed me or embarrassed me at any time ever? They have, because that's what children do. I do it to my father to this day.
They have your DNA.
They have my DNA. They know how to be embarrassing because they're a Robin. And so what I'm saying to you is don't just throw in the towel completely. But I think it's very fair. If you were all in on like Deboer, I bought a shirt that said Milroe and Williams on it, 24. I ain't wearing that sucker until I see Jalen Milroe complete a forward American pass again. I mean that, but I doesn't mean I don't like Jalen Milroe.
Beat Missouri. Beat Missouri. It just starts with that. How are you going to fix this? Beat Missouri. Beat Missouri and start building blocks. There are things this team does well. There's good players on this team. You get Missouri at home, a top 20 football team. Beat Missouri.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.